Picture this. Briar Hollow HOA, the kind of suburban paradise realtors plaster on billboards. Manicured lawns trimmed to exactly 2 inches. American flags only on approved poles. And trash cans hidden like they're state secrets. On paper, it looks peaceful. In reality, it's a police state run by a woman who treats the covenants like her personal Bible. Her name is Paula Perry, HOA President, and everyone calls her Karen behind her back. Polite smile, pastel cardigans, voice like honey poured over broken glass. She and her golden boy son Mason, vice president in charge of enforcement, and social butterfly daughter Brooke, treasurer who somehow never misses a photo op, have turned the board into their own little kingdom. I'm Stella Perry, the resident they love to hate. 34 years old, risk analyst by day, repeat violator by HOA decree. My crime? Last summer, I left my sedan in the driveway 5 minutes past the no visible vehicles after 8 p.m. rule while I carried groceries inside. That earned me a $750 fine and a neighborhood-wide email blast titled, "Maintaining Standards for Everyone's Benefit." They've been painting me as the black sheep troublemaker ever since. The woman who doesn't respect the community. I stopped fighting back publicly years ago. Silence is my armor. But I watch. I catalog every micro-expression, every camera angle they hide in the bushes. Every time Paula quotes section 4.2 like it's the 10 Commandments. I turn the trauma into a career. At work, I hunt corporate fraud for a living. Here in Briar Hollow, I just waited. The night everything cracked open was the annual Christmas gala at the clubhouse. Paula had outdone herself. Real garlands shipped in from somewhere expensive. Beeswax candles that smelled like money. And a jazz playlist curated to scream, "We're better than you." The whole neighborhood was there playing their assigned roles. Mason in a suit that cost more than my monthly HOA dues. Brooke fluttering around taking selfies for the community Facebook page. And then there was my grandmother, Marjorie Dalton, Mags to me, sitting at the head table looking smaller than last year, but with those sharp blue eyes that still missed nothing. She'd moved into the community to be near me after Grandpa passed, and Paula had immediately appointed her honorary advisor so she could keep an eye on the old woman's assets. Mags was the only one who ever looked at me and saw a person instead of a fine waiting to happen. Dinner was a marathon of backhanded compliments. Paula spent 20 minutes praising Brooke's brave decision to buy a new Tesla in this economy, then turned to me with that tight smile. Stella, still renting that charming little starter home? How practical of you. I learned long ago that defense was useless. In Briar Hollow, silence was the only shield that worked. Then Paula clapped her hands, the sound slicing through the jazz like a gavel. Time for community appreciation gifts. We like to recognize those who need a little extra help staying in compliance. Her eyes locked on mine. My stomach tightened. This was the annual public shaming, HOA edition. Last year, they'd given me a $50 gift card to the lawn care company while the model residents got spa certificates. The goal was always the same, make me crack, then call me ungrateful. She slid a cream envelope across the polished table. It stopped right in front of my water glass. "Go on, honey," Brooke cooed, swirling her wine. "Open it. Grandma helped us pick something special for you this year." I looked at Mags. Her hand trembled on her napkin. I broke the seal. Face neutral. Professional hazard when you spot discrepancies for a living. Inside, 2 crisp $100 bills. The silence lasted 1 second before the polite, pitying chuckle started. Mason leaned back. "Gas money for all those rule violations." "Stell." Brooke covered her mouth, eyes glittering. "So sweet. Every little bit helps when you're situated like you are." Paula offered her signature sad smile. "It's the thought that counts." "Stella, don't be rude. 200 is a fortune to some people." They were waiting for the Stella show. I refused to perform. I folded the bills neatly. turned to Mags, and said warmly, "Thank you, Grandma. I mean it." That's when the air changed. Mag's head snapped up. Color drained from her face. She gripped my hand under the table, strong as a cliff-edge grip. 200, she whispered. Paula was still smiling, reaching for the wine. "Yes, Mother. 200. You were very generous." Mags ignored her. Her eyes locked on mine, terror flashing. "No, Stella. I did not give you 200. I wired you 2 million last Tuesday. The proceeds from the Montana land. All of it. So you could finally get away from this." The silence that dropped was absolute. A bomb had just landed in the middle of the HOA Christmas gala, and the timer was ticking. Paula's wine glass nearly snapped in her hand. Mason cleared his throat so loudly it echoed off the clubhouse rafters. Brooke stopped scrolling her phone, jaw clenched like a child caught stealing. They weren't worried Mags was losing her mind. They were terrified she was telling the truth. "Mother, you're confused," Paula said, voice sharp as a covenant violation notice. "The doctor warned us about these episodes." Mag's voice cracked with panic, but stayed clear. "I sold the land. I drove to Hollow Creek Credit Union with you. Paula." Brooke helped with the paperwork. "I watched the teller type in Stella's account. 2 million. For Stella. So she could fight your ridiculous fines and live without your cameras watching her every move." I sat frozen while my brain, the same brain that once traced a $14 million embezzlement through 3 shell companies, snapped into gear. Mason reached for Mag's arm to help her to the restroom. His jacket sleeve rode up, glinting under the chandelier, a Patek Philippe Nautilus. Retail, $130,000. The same model I'd investigated in an insurance claim 3 months ago. Mason worked consulting, a job that mostly meant borrowing from Paula and bragging about deals that never closed. Yet here, he was wearing a watch that cost more than most residents' annual HOA fees. My eyes flicked to Brooke. Outside in the valet loop sat her brand new Tesla Cybertruck. Paid cash. She'd bragged when she arrived. Her design firm hadn't had a client in 6 months. She'd asked me for rent money in October. The math hit like a $2 million fine. The money hadn't vanished. It had been carved up like the turkey on the buffet and served to the very people now trying to drag Mags away. "Get off me," Mags snapped as Mason tried to hoist her. I stood slowly, voice low but edged with the steel I usually save for fraud depositions. "Mason, be gentle." He froze. For the first time in his life, he looked at me with fear instead of contempt. Paula hissed, "Don't make this about you. Stella, you always ruin everything." I smile, not nice. "I'm just saying thank you. Grandma wanted to give me a gift, and I think she did. The most interesting gift I've ever received." I pocketed the $200. "Take her to rest. I'll be right here. I'm not going anywhere." As they hurried Mags out, the old woman glanced back at me, desperate. I gave her the tiniest nod. The moment the door closed, the clubhouse became my crime scene, and I was the lead investigator. They thought the $200 was a joke. They didn't realize it was evidence. I stood alone amid the half-eaten feast, listening to Paula's frantic whispers in the hallway. Tonight wasn't for confrontation. Tonight was intelligence gathering. And I already knew where to start. You have to understand the ecosystem that created these criminals. Briar Hollow wasn't a neighborhood. It was a stage. Paula wasn't a president. She was a director, and every resident was a prop. Mason had been insulated from consequences since birth. Every fine he issued was for the community. Every luxury he bought was an investment in standards. Brooke curated the Instagram-perfect image of the board, filters on everything ugly. And me? I was the baseline, the control group they measured their superiority against, the designated violator whose fines funded their bonuses. For years, I let them think I was weak because I didn't fight. I was watching, cataloging, turning their cruelty into data. 3 years ago, Mags, and I had sat on her porch shelling peas. She grabbed my wrist. You're not like them. Stella. They're vampires feeding on appearances. But you're solid. You're biding your time. One day I'm going to balance the ledger. I thought she meant jewelry. I never imagined she meant $2 million wired straight into my escape fund. I moved quietly toward the clubhouse kitchen, the staging area. Dirty catering trays stacked high. But my eyes went to the counter where Paula's sorted board mail. Mags had arrived, clutching a worn shopping bag. Paula had swooped in. I'll put this away for you. Mother. Inside that bag had been the wire confirmation papers. The bag was gone now, probably locked in Paula's office. But criminals get sloppy with scraps. Shoved behind the knife block, a crumpled bank envelope. Hollow Creek Credit Union logo. In Mag's shaky cursive. For Stella, the full amount. Someone had slapped masking tape over my name and written in thick black marker, gas. The cruelty stole my breath. Not content to steal $2 million, they'd turned the gift envelope into a weapon. Next to it, half hidden under a napkin, a carbon copy transaction receipt. Today's date. Balance $2,400. The wire confirmation missing. They'd sanitized the scene almost. I filmed everything, envelope, tape, handwriting, timestamp on the microwave. Physical evidence of tampering secured. Footsteps echoed from the hallway. Paula's angry tread. I slipped the envelope into my blazer and stepped back into the gala room just as they returned. They froze when they saw me still standing there, calm as a spreadsheet. Paula poured herself a massive glass of wine. Mason loosened his tie. Brooke typed furiously on her phone, probably deleting the gala footage they'd hoped would capture my breakdown. Stella, Paula sighed dramatically. I thought you'd left after that little performance. I placed my phone face down on the head table. Microphone live. I just want to check on Grandma, I said softly. She's sleeping. Mason snapped. Do not disturb her. I'll let the silence stretch until it hurt. You know, I work with numbers all day. Numbers don't lie. 2 million is a very specific number to hallucinate. It implies a transaction. Perhaps land. Perhaps a wire. Paula's glass hit the table hard. Wine sloshed. We're not doing this. I will not let you take advantage of your grandmother's confusion to extort the board. I repeated the word slowly. Extort. That's a legal term. Paula, be careful. I walked around the table, trailing my fingers along the backs of the chairs like I was reading the room. Grandma said she wired the money. You say she didn't. One of you is lying. And since Mags has never told a lie in her life, and you three have a documented history of creative accounting, I gestured at Mason's watch. Brooke's Tesla keys on the table. I'm going to need the full story. Who drove her? Who spoke to the teller? Who signed the slip? The triangle of guilt formed instantly. Paula lifted her chin. I drove her last Tuesday. She wanted to withdraw $200 for your gift. That's all. She got confused in line and started talking millions. The teller was patient. We got the cash and left. No wire. No papers. The Montana land was sold years ago. Mason jumped in. The money's long gone. I nodded. They had just locked themselves into a version of events I could disprove with a single phone call. That clarifies things, I said. I picked up my phone, recording still running. I'm going to drive back to the city now. But remember this moment. I gave you a chance to tell the truth. Brooke scoffed. Just go. Stella. Take your gas money. I smiled genuinely. I will. It'll be very useful for the drive to the district attorney's office Monday. I turned and walked out into the crisp December night without looking back. Their silence behind me was petrified. In my car, I exhaled, stopped the recording, saved it as confession attempt 1. The warm lights of the clubhouse still glowed like the perfect HOA dream. I knew better. It was a fortress of lies, and I had just located the structural weakness. I didn't drive home. I drove to a 24-hour diner with Wi-Fi and started researching Hollow Creek Credit Union's correspondent banking partners. But first, the 10 minutes I never told anyone about. I doubled back through the side garden. I knew every loose latch in this community because I'd mapped them during my silent observation years. The French doors to the guest suite where they'd stashed mags had a broken lock my grandfather never fixed. I slipped inside. Mags was sitting on the bed, fully dressed, clutching her purse like body armor. She didn't scream when she saw me. She just breathed. I knew you'd come back. I knelt beside her. We have to be fast. They think you're sedated. She fumbled in her cardigan pocket and pulled out a folded pink slip, the customer copy of the wire transfer request. I kept the receipt. I'm old, Stella, but I'm not stupid. Date December 18th. Amount $2 million. Beneficiary Stella Perry. Account ending 4,429 mine. But the handwriting in the beneficiary address box looked heavier, like someone had gone over it. A tiny smudge near the account number. Brooke had helped with the forms. Paula had created the distraction in the lobby. Classic sleight of hand. I photographed every inch. Listen carefully, I told her. Tomorrow you play confused. Apologize. Tell them you must have imagined it. If they think they won, they'll get sloppy. That's when I catch them. Mag's eyes gleamed with understanding. I'll be a ghost. I kissed her forehead and slipped back into the night. 10 minutes later, I was on the interstate, calling the National Fraud Reporting Hotline with the tracking number. The agent confirmed the wire had settled, but the beneficiary had been amended 2 minutes after initiation to BH Holdings LLC, Delaware registered. The same sloppy initials they'd used to make it look like my name at a glance. I merged onto the highway, cold rage fueling me better than coffee. They thought they'd eaten my future. They were about to choke on it. By Monday morning, the legal machine was moving. I'd hired Talia Green, the attorney who eats white-collar predators for breakfast. We had the wire receipt, the amendment log, the gas-taped envelope, the recorded confession, and Mag's pink slip. Talia filed an emergency protective order alleging elder financial abuse, wire fraud, and conspiracy. The court froze the BH Holdings account before the board even finished their morning coffee. The panic hit the group chat they thought was private. Project Montana. Mason, Grandma's meeting Henderson again. We need to move fast. Paula, I'll handle Mother. Just make sure Stella stays in the dark. Brooke, Chloe at the credit union can flag it. We have a window. They'd planned the theft for weeks. The $200 envelope wasn't a prank. It was theater. They'd set up multiple phones to film my humiliation for the neighborhood page. Talia subpoenaed everything. By Wednesday, we had the texts. The LLC filings, Samuel Patrice Holdings, cute, using their middle names. And Chloe the teller's confession once federal prison was mentioned. The credit union suspended her and admitted Brooke had provided the BH Holdings details 2 days prior. The money was locked. The board felt the noose. That evening, Paula called. Speaker on. Talia listening. Her voice was unrecognizable, whimpering instead of imperious. Stella, please stop this. The bank froze everything. Mason can't pay his mortgage. We were just managing it for the community. We'll give you $50,000 right now. Just tell the lawyers it was a misunderstanding. $50,000 out of $2 million. Insulting. But I needed the bribe on record. I let my voice waver. I'm scared. The lawyers are aggressive. Send me the offer so I can look at it. 2 minutes later, the text arrived. If you withdraw the complaint and sign the NDA, we will transfer $50,000 from BH Holdings immediately. We just want peace. Talia's sharp smile appeared. They just admitted control of the stolen funds and offered settlement from crime proceeds. Coffins nailed. We moved Mags to a secure suite. She looked rested for the first time in months. When I told her about the $50,000 offer, she laughed dryly. They always did think cheap. Then she pulled out a thick cream envelope sealed with wax. You found the first envelope. But you didn't know about the second. Inside, the original Dalton Legacy Trust, the document governing her massive land grant that formed the backbone of Briar Hollow HO, a primary beneficiaries listed as Paula, Mason, and Brooke. But on the last page, the amendment clause Arthur Henderson had added 3 years ago after my promotion, the integrity stipulation. Any beneficiary attempting to incapacitate the grantor or misappropriate assets triggers immediate dissolution and reconstitution. All assets previously designated for the board transfer to the sole remaining beneficiary, Stella Perry. The violating parties are explicitly disinherited. Mags tapped the paper. Prison is too easy. I want them evicted from the life they think they deserve. Sign it, Stella. Trigger the clause. I didn't hesitate. The poison pill was armed. The board's social shield shattered first. Paula posted her Darvo masterpiece on the neighborhood Facebook page. Please pray for Stella. She's having a mental health crisis and threatening legal action against the board because we wouldn't enable her behavior. Old photo of me looking tired. Cousins texted. I didn't answer. Instead, I sent the Truth Ledger PDF, wire receipt, gas tape, bank logs, Chloe's confession to Uncle Vance, the moral patriarch of the extended community, the church deacons, and Mason's real estate licensing board. Within hours, the tide turned. Uncle Vance removed Paula from every committee. This isn't drama. This is embezzlement. Mason's triplex deal collapsed when the escrow officer saw the frozen BH holding statement. He was escorted out still wearing the Patek. Brooke spiraled hardest. She called me sobbing. The FBI was at Chloe's. Tell them to stop. I just asked her to fix the paperwork. Mom said you'd waste it. We were going to invest it for the community. There it was, the admission on tape. I lured her to a neutral coffee shop with the promise of a settlement. She showed up in sunglasses and a trench coat, slapping down the manila envelope. Sign, and we'll give you $5,000 cash now. The rest when the freeze lifts. I slid the envelope back. I'm keeping this. It's evidence. She screamed. I walked out as the Treasury SUVs lit up the parking lot. Special Agent Rossi served the freeze notice on her Tesla right there on the asphalt. Brooke collapsed crying. This isn't fair. I answered softly, no, it's justice. And in this HOA, that's something you've never seen before. The final scene played out in the same clubhouse where it started. Emergency board meeting called to address recent unfortunate misunderstandings. The room smelled of stale coffee and desperation. On one side, Paula in funeral black, Mason hollow-eyed and twitching, Brooke hiding behind oversized sunglasses. On our side, Talia, me, and Mags walking in with a cane she used like a scepter. Their lawyer Sterling slid a thin folder across the table. My clients acknowledged mistakes were made. However, intent was benevolent, protecting community assets. We're prepared to offer Stella $300,000 restitution. I laughed sharply. $300,000 out of $2 million? You charge Grandma a $1.7 million management fee for the privilege of being gaslit. Paula leaned forward, pleading. We're family. Stella. Sign the NDA. Withdraw cooperation with the feds. And we wired immediately. I stood. You want me to lie to federal investigators and sign away my voice so you can unfreeze money you stole? That's not a settlement. That's an insult. Mason slammed the table. You think you could take everything? We are the primary beneficiaries of the trust. A voice from the doorway cut through. That is a matter of opinion. Mags walked to the head of the table, Paula's seat, and sat down. She placed the thick portfolio with a thud. You keep using the word community like a shield. But community is about who stands by you when you're bleeding. For 30 years, I watched you treat Stella like a violation waiting to happen. I did nothing because I wanted peace. I was wrong. There is no peace with wolves. Talia connected her laptop. Exhibit A, CCTV from Hollow Creek showing Brooke sliding the amendment paper while Paula distracted. Exhibit B. The Christmas Eve texts magnified. Give her $200 only. Watch her perform. I will set up the camera. Exhibit C. Chloe Vance's recorded confession naming Brooke and Paula. The room went dead silent. Talia placed the amended legacy trust on the table. Sterling read the integrity stipulation and his face went gray. It's a poison pill. If Stella proves misappropriation, the entire grant dissolves and reconstitutes to her. The land, the charter, the houses built on it, everything transfers. You are disinherited completely. Paula whispered, Mother, you wouldn't take our home. Mags answered coldly, It was never yours. You just lived in it while waiting for me to die. I picked up the pen. Mason lunged. Wait, we'll give you 70%. I clicked it. You have nothing to offer. You're negotiating with currency you don't own. I signed. The room erupted. Paula screamed, You ungrateful little witch. Mason was blocked by security. Brooke dissolved into hysterics. I looked at Mags. She gave me a fierce nod. The invitation for Christmas Part 2 arrived by courier the next day, handwritten on heavy cardstock. Please come home. No lawyers. Just family. We have a solution. I drove over at 7 p.m. The house was lit like the first night. Jazz playing. Fake warmth everywhere. They greeted me with desperate smiles. We made your favorite stuffing, Paula beamed. I didn't sit. Mags walked in wearing her best coat and placed the portfolio down. We are not eating. We are finishing business. She slid the new trust across. The wire was real. It was also a test. I knew you were watching my accounts. I wanted to see if you would let me bless my granddaughter or if you would intercept it. You chose theft. You chose slander. So the clause activates now. Mason sneered. You can't cut us out. The original trust is ironclad. Mags smiled terrifyingly. You should have read the amendments. I opened the front door. Standing on the porch, federal agents with warrants, Uncle Vance, and the new community compliance officer, Mr. and Mrs. Perry. We have an eviction notice served by the new grant holder, Stella Perry. You have 1 hour to remove personal items. The locks change at 9. Paula hurled a wine glass at the wall. Red spray like blood. I'm not leaving. The agents moved inefficiently, collecting phones and keys. Mason slowly unclasped the Patek. Brooke sobbed on the sofa. I tapped my phone. The Christmas Eve text appeared on the big screen. Watch her perform. I pointed. You wanted a show. Here's the finale. Mag stood. Get out. They left broken, dragging suitcases. The perfect HOA family reduced to ordinary thieves walking into the winter night. I turned to Mags. Ready to go. Grandma, she patted my hand. Where? I booked us a suite at the plaza. Tomorrow we're driving to Montana. I hear the land is beautiful this time of year. We walked out without looking back at the twinkling lights or the perfect wreath. For the first time in 34 years, I didn't owe anyone an explanation. They had tried to eat my future. They choked. Checkmate.